Breaking news tonight. Federal prosecutors in Manhattan are now investigating President Trump's inaugural committee. Prosecutors, 2 years later, looking into whether the committee misspent some of the $107 million raised from donations and whether donors gave money in exchange for influence in the incoming Trump administration. White House spokesperson Sarah Sanders says the investigation has nothing to do with the president or the first lady. Apparently, it was just the best that another set of left-wing federal prosecutors could come up with to persecute the president. Well, according to a new report, Special Counsel Robert Mueller is preparing to reveal how the Middle East interfered in the 2016 presidential election. Mueller reportedly will show how some Middle Eastern countries, namely the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Israel, all tried to interfere in 2016 and later attempt to exert influence over the Trump administration. Wow, we've come a long way from collusion, haven't we? By the way, I should point out that Mueller has yet to provide a scintilla of evidence or even the prospect of a scintilla of evidence, a scant suggestion of any evidence of Trump-Russia collusion whatsoever. But now you're going to get to hear about the Middle East, apparently. Joining us tonight, Harmeet Dhillon, the Dhillon Law Group managing partner, board member of the Republican National Lawyers Association, RNC, committeewoman for the great state of California, and Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor, Fox Business contributor. Thank you both for being here.
Good to be with you, Lou.
Harmeet, let me, if I may, start with you. You're the attorney. It looks like that a band of left-wing radical Dems who happen to be prosecutors in Manhattan, the Southern District of New York, the Attorney General of the state of New York, and of course Robert Mueller and the DOJ, and combined with the deep state, are doing everything they can to persecute this president. When in the world will somebody step up and stop it?
Well, maybe when we have a new attorney general in place, hopefully very soon, he has the authority to certainly stop the Southern District of New York from its witch hunt, but he doesn't really have the authority to stop the New York attorney general from doing so. And so we may have to see something happen in the courts with refusal to comply with things based on executive privilege and so forth. But, Lou, to your point, there seems to be no longer any pretense of objectivity here. Clearly, we have prosecutors running wild, simply looking for crimes to pin on the president because they don't like him. It's very clear, and it's disgusting.
What do you, Charlie, what do you think? Maybe a countersuit, abuse of power, go after all of them? I mean, this is crazy what we're watching, and I don't want to hear any nonsense from the left about, well, we've got to let this thing work its way through to a conclusion. We have gone well past the conclusion. There's no damn evidence. Get out of town, Mueller.
Yeah, well, I think the short answer is that they're never going to stop. And the reason they're never going to stop is that Donald Trump presents an absolute existential threat to everything the way this town works and the way this town operates. And obviously, there's no evidence whatsoever that the inaugural committee has been under Donald Trump was bought off or anybody paid access to be a part of it. But it's a little bit like the scene in Casablanca when the detectives' winnings are provided. My goodness, people have been paying for access in this town since the beginning of lobbying.
Yeah, corporate America.
Suddenly,
there is no doubt that corporate America would be escorted out of town in handcuffs and doing perp walks because that's all they do is spend money to buy influence.
Right. Exactly. It's all they've ever done. And so suddenly, finally, you get some crook, some terrible lawyer, but like Michael Cohen, and some emails or some recorded conversations between him and somebody else, and they want to make a federal case out of this, which is fine. Get to the bottom of it, whatever. But I mean, the bottom line, the fact remains, you still have in a guy like Mike Cohen. By the way, how is this guy still a lawyer? I don't understand. The president makes a very good point about this.
Because he meets all the standards of conduct according to the ABA.
He will lose his license now that he's pled guilty to these crimes.
Well, he definitely,
because yes,
he should.
Well, they didn't move too quickly on that.
And at the very least, he provided terrible advice to his client because by his own admission, in the way he handled this, it was an absolute a violation of everything he was supposed to be doing for the president.
Very
well,
quickly,
taping your
Harmeet.
clients is yes, that's enough, right?
Very quickly, we've got all of the folks in the FBI corrupt, politically corrupt. We have got just a legion of evildoers that have been exposed primarily as a result of the House Intelligence Committee. Some credit goes as well to the Office of the Inspector General at the Department of Justice. And there's not a single solitary soul. Whatever happened to consequences for Fusion GPS, for Christopher Steele, the author of the fraudulent Trump dossier, the collusion with the DNC and the Hillary campaign? Harmeet, where are the consequences for being insidious and awful and a lawbreaker?
Lou, the dirty secret here is that at the beginning of this administration, advisors to the president gave him very, very bad legal advice about the lawyers to hire around him, including in the Department of Justice and otherwise. And the DOJ was stacked with people who were adverse to the president. And I mean, even people like George Conway, by the way, who's one of the most virulent critics of the president on Twitter, was somebody who people in the White House advised the president to hire as one of the assistant attorney generals. So that's what happened. And once you put those people in place, unfortunately, the president can't intervene in this investigation and fire them without risking obstruction of justice. And so that's really what happened. And they keep merrily moving on.
Well,
I mean, Rod Rosenstein should have, out of, kind of decency, resigned himself, but he didn't.
We'll end it with the pertinent question then. Why hasn't the president declassified all of those documents, and why hasn't he fired the fools, the corrupt fools in the U.S. Justice Department?